Welcome, Disneyland fans. I'm the Disneyland man, and I'm wearing headphones for some reason. I don't know why. Let's just go back to this. Ba-ching! There we go. Sorry. I'm still figuring all this tech stuff out. I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. We probably... Hold on. This is kind of weird. Just trying to find out where I should be sitting to be close to the mic, but also in the right spot. Probably should be here. Yikes. Oh, man, this thing is all like, I don't, anyway, sorry. Welcome to today's episode where we're going to be talking about the next movie in our lovely Disney live action travels. We did the 1950 movie Treasure Island. Then we did the 1952 movie Robin Hood and the story of Robin Hood and his band of merry men. Now we're on to 1953, The Sword and the Rose, a movie that probably you've never heard of. I know I had not really heard about it until I started looking up live action movies. And I went, what? Who? What? Where? Why? There's lots of movies in the list that I've not heard of. They probably played once or twice, and then maybe the odd reoccurrence on late night television or like Disney evening, what was the show called? Every Sunday night there was like Disney, it was the Disney hour, and they'd play like a Disney movie, maybe half of a Disney movie. It was magical. It was a magical time before streaming and before where you could just like, beep, beep, I want to watch this right now. And you had to wait for Sunday nights to watch anything. And that is what you had. Never saw this on TV though. Anyway, so let me just throw this up here. Boom. The Sword and the Rose, 1953. Richard Todd, that name might be familiar to you from last week's Robin Hood and his Merry Men, because he played Robin Hood. He will also be in next week's Rob Roy, the Scottish Highland Rogue. I don't think it's Scottish. I think it's just the Highland Rogue. He's also Rob Roy. So Disney apparently had like this love affair with this Richard Todd guy for a few years or a couple years and starred in 3 movies in a row. Robin Hood and his band of merry men made money. Sword of the Rose, not so much. Rob Roy, also not so much. I think because Robin Hood made money, they like probably greenlit these 2 movies and, the audiences love Richard Todd, let's bring him back. And they probably signed contracts for both these movies and they had to do them. But they did not do well. So they kind of like, let's forget about the period costume dramas for a while, shall we? Though technically they did make 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea pretty close after this. I think it's just a couple films down the list. So maybe that's more of like not a period drama. It's like sci-fi stuff. So, to us watching it, it feels very period. But anyway, Sword of the Rose. This is the lovely poster with some lovely stills, which you can't see. But we'll get into it, don't worry. But before we begin, let's jump over to this to watch the trailer. Is the trailer any good? I don't know, because there is no trailer. I looked it up on YouTube. Nothing. Okay, there's nothing like, this is the magic of, romance, drama, daring, sword fights. Nothing like that. There was like nothing. Just some clips. And what was weird is the clip that I'll be showing you is just a scene from the movie. I went to the Disney store page where they're advertising for this movie. You can buy it. Speaking of which, I found it on eBay or Amazon for a steal of a deal at like $70. It's not on Disney Plus. You will not find this on Disney Plus unless it's under some other name. Now, this is based on the book about like the death or in the time of Shiv. Oh, man, let me just quickly. I need to figure this out here. The Sword and the Rose wiki. Sorry, I'm going to the Wikipedia. Forgive me. When Knighthood Was in Flower. That is the name of the book. An 1898 book. When Knighthood Was in Flower. Doesn't that sound really kind of... yeah. Doesn't sound very exciting to me. Sword and the Rose. A bit more exciting. So maybe, I didn't check it up on Disney Plus. It's possible that they have it under When Knighthood Was in Flower. I mean, they've changed names before. The Disney musical Newsies, like with Christian Bale, is now called The Newsboys. Because Newsies, if you look up Newsies on Disney Plus, it'll take you to the recorded Broadway musical, which is they're both awesome, but they've changed names. Anyway. So anyway, we're going to see a clip, not the trailer, a clip. Take it up with Disney because this is on their website as well. When they say, hey, click on the trailer, this is what comes up. Shame on you, Disney. Shame. You must have the trailer somewhere in your archive that you could just dust it off and remaster it, because this just seems disappointing. It deserves better. Maybe. Let's go. Now available.
Well, sir?
Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me just put on the headphones.
Henry! Did the music cease? Did the music cease? Are the musicians weary?
I ordered the music stopped. We cannot permit such an indecent exhibition.
If your highness does
this
not
is-
like the way we do and dance at my ball, you may retire as soon as you see fit.
Will the king permit me to be insulted thus?
Told you she had sharp claws.
I ordered the music stopped.
Shall I not have what
cannot
music and
permit such an
dances I
indecent
like at
exhibition.
my own ball? If your highness does not like the way we do and dance at my ball, you may
Just turning the
That
volume.
you shall, sister mine. Come, let the music knock it. We'll learn the step ourselves and wear you ladies out to dancing too.
Yeah. The whole dance. I should just let you watch this. Sword in the Rose. Now available. That is it, people. That is it. I was kind of disappointed with this. I don't even know what to say, guys. Oh, so now I can probably move the microphone back. Now I can get closer. This is the story of a young, lovely lady who's bringing up no children. Okay, let's begin. Before I just get distracted. Okay, here. The movie starts out with the king is matching his English wrestlers against the champions of France, because apparently that's how they challenged each other back then. Not sword fights, not jousting with, lances or, combat. No. Men wrestling each other. It's very exciting. See? So they're wrestling and they're getting their butts kicked by the French. King Edward, anyway, he's not too happy. So it's like, is there no one among you Englishmen who can, show these Frenchmen what for? And of course, Sir, what is it, Brendan? Man, man. Okay, let me just, his name is, yes, Charles Brandon. That's it, Charles Brandon. I'm sorry for forgetting his name, Brandon. He's a commoner. Oh, a commoner. He's like, I will do it, but Princess Mary says, why don't you let my best friend, the Duke, do it? Let him, he's a, So the Duke, there he is right there. We'll get back to him after this slideshow because there's more to talk about him. He comes down and he lays what for against the French and he wins. And everyone's like, oh, lovely, lovely. But Mary has eyes for this Brandon guy. Thinks he's kind of cute. Let's put these two guys together. Let's see who wins. So they begin wrestling. You can't tell it from this shot. Well, maybe you could kind of see it right there. He has no shirt anymore. Like within 5 seconds of the fight starting, the Duke rips off Brandon's shirt. And I seem to recall this being the case in Robin Hood as well, that he ends up shirtless. Whether it's he's bathing, like having a shower, or if it's like fight, I can't remember. I just remember, it's like, he's like the Matthew McConaughey of his day, apparently. He just likes to get out of his shirt. All right, all right, all right. So they wrestle. And what is the outcome? Brandon beats the Duke. Yay! And Mary, Princess Mary, is smitten beyond words. I think I like this young man. What can you say? He beats the Duke. So she has Brandon elevated to like a god, king of the guards or something. I can't remember the title. Does it say? Oh, captain of the guards. How does he? I don't even know how he becomes captain of the guard. How did I beat some people in one person in wrestling, and now I am apparently qualified to be captain of the guard. So anyway, he's the captain of the guard. He's sent to deliver a message to Princess Mary, but she's, trying to be all royal and haughty, so he delivers the message to her maid instead. Like, oh, how dare he? But, Mary appreciates his cunning and he has a firm hand with her, and she likes a firm hand. If you know what I mean. Yeah. So, yes, off she goes to go visit. And she learns from this message, from the Duke, that her brother plans on wedding her to the King of France to solidify their alliance and all that. But she does not want it. And of course, the Duke is in love with Mary himself. And he's like, I'll do whatever you want. Mary, say the words and I control the Tower of London, so I control London and I will go to bat for you. Oh, but you could die. Oh, if I lost my head, it would be worth it for you, Mary. So she's like, well, thank you. You're a good friend. I don't like you that way, but you're a good friend. And he's like, curses, friend-zoned. He's not really, well, yes, he's friend-zoned. Pretty badly. So anyway, she's having her ball the next day, and of course she likes Brandon. So let's see if he can dance before I invite him to my ball to be my date. So they go up to her room, chaperoned, of course, because it's none of that stuff these days. She's got her maid and some other guy who's going to be playing music. I don't know. They're playing music and they're doing the dance. He's not great. He's okay. He's like, I'm not used to this dancing, guys. This is all very hoity-toity stuff. It's not how we dance where I come from. Oh, well, how do you dance where you come from? Well, we touch each other with around the waist. And she's like, oh, but he shows her, the maid. That's not actually Mary. That's her maid. He's like, well, I'll try it. It sounds fun. So he shows her the move. And that's really all it is. Like you saw the trailer where they dance. Pick her up, throw the legs around. And then you just keep doing that in a circle. It's basically the medieval equivalent of like people just dancing like this. Repetitive, not very complicated. Just oh, I got my headphones on still. What the heck? So he shows her this new dance move, which is Scandalous. So, that night at the ball, he escorts her. And you can see from all this, they're just dancing in a row and they're doing the boring stuff. Not very exciting. But Mary says, let's do your secret forbidden dance, the lambada. It's not really called the lambada, but it is the forbidden dance. So they do the forbidden dance. And the court is a twitter. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The degradation of morals, that's what's going on. She's like, this is so lovely. However, the king's wife, her sister-in-law, goes, what is going on? Stop the music. They stop the music. And basically Mary says, hey, this is my dance. It's my party and I'll dance if I want to. Dance if I want to. Dance if I want to. You would dance too if it was your dance. Do, 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 do. And the king says, you know what? I like that girl over there. Like, seriously, there's a scene, like he says, okay, sure, we'll do your dance. So she dances with her brother, just like, hey, put your arms around the waist, throw me around in a circle. It's very easy. And while he's doing that, and like, oh, this is fun. There's that lovely lass over there, you know, giving him the come hither look. And he's like, oh, yes, I think I want to dance with her. I want to put my hand around her waist. She never shows up in the rest of the movie. It's not like there's this subplot of the king having an affair. No. She's just there to help him realize that, you know, dancing with your hands around someone else's waist can be delightful. So, anyway, revelry breaks out at the ball and everyone does it and everyone's like, oh, this is lovely. I'm so glad we learned this new dance where we get to put our hands on the other person's waist. I feel sexual. It's kind of silly, but there you have it. Dancing. Then, because he has introduced this new dance and he beat the wrestler, the Duke wrestling, the king invites him out on a hunting trip. And of course, he actually shoots a duck as well. So he's like a man's man. Everyone's like, oh, he dances like a hussy. And he can wrestle and he can hunt. He's like super awesome. So Mary, who's watching from a distance, feigns like, oh no, my saddle is loose. Please help me. So he's like, I can't, your saddle's not loose. It's actually really tight. If I tighten this, it's not good for your horse, but do it anyway. So he does it. And of course, the horse spooks and runs off into the woods. Doesn't spook. She totally rides off in the woods. Oh, please help me, follow me. Let's be alone. She doesn't say those words, but that's the subtext. So they get to the woods. He helps her down. And, you know, they have a moment. He's like, oh, you know, she says, why don't you pick me some flowers and come up with a sonnet for me? It's like, well, that would be, you know, maybe if you were a poor person, I could do this, but you're the princess. Oh, pretend that I'm a poor person. So, of course, he talks about how lovely she is and gives her some flowers and sold. She is in love. He's in love too, but he knows it can't be this way. This relationship, it is forbidden. It is the lambada relationship. It's not. Anyway, so back to the castle. And the king is more adamant than ever to seal this relationship with the French. It's like, yes, good times, noodle salad. We must sell my sister off. And, you know, they're willing to pay quite the handsome dowry for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy rich. You would get lots of money if you sold your sister off. What does he do? He does it. Well, they're the French people. There's the French ambassador and some French, and they're like, can we please? Here, like, yes, money, please. we like your princess. She's very pretty. We have some jewels for her to look at. It's not even a French accent, but you know what I'm saying. We would love to give these gifts to the princess. Very much loves her, the king. Yes, these are for her to show the level of esteem he holds her in. So it's like, hey, he sends the servant, come, your brother wants you down. Come and meet the French ambassador. And she said, no, I refuse. This is ridiculous. I will not meet with him. Her brother's not happy. So he comes up and he's like, come, no, you get out here now. No, I won't come out. I don't want to. I hate you. No, she doesn't say that. She's suspiciously in a positive mood while this scene is going on. So he breaks down the door and there she is in bed, naked. Well, I mean, she's not. She's got the covers over her, but she's like scandalously unclothed. First, she's dancing scandalously. Now she's scandalously unclothed in her own bedroom, which he broke in. Like, it's his fault. She told him not to come in. Which is like, well, please come in. I will rise to greet the French ambassadors informally. And like, no, everyone avert your eyes. Let's go. So she goes and she thinks she has escaped. Like, now they're all leaving. So I can go and meet Brandon, my love. But nope, the French people are there. Those lovely French ambassadors, here, have some jewels. And she's like, this is what I think of the marriage. And she throws them on the ground. She's harsh. So then she runs off to Brandon. Why? Because he, not wanting to watch the love of his life get married, he's going to go to the New World, which actually he talked about in this sonnet that he wrote her. And she's like, oh, please, I can go with you. Let's run away together. Oh, no, I can't. Besides, no one will ever let a woman go on board. And she's like, but they'd let... Oh, wait, well, they kiss first because they're happy to see each other. But they would let a page come on board because I totally look like a boy. This is what always, not believable at all in movies, okay? Unless you've got a very, manly woman, which generally speaking, they aren't. It's very easy to tell when a woman is dressed up like a guy. Maybe if they, maybe you can get away by saying it's some women could look like a young boy. But that's assuming that they're very straight. She is not. She is a curvy woman. And the clothes that she wears does not hide those curves. So it's I'm totally a page. Look at these bosoms. She doesn't actually say, look at these bosoms, but she's got skin-tight leggings on and yeah. One look at her, no one believes that she's a boy. But for some reason, she fools everybody until they have to go up on deck. She was just going to hide in the cabin on the ship to the New World. No one would see her. She just had to get on the board. But now they're like, hey, we're going to go sailing. It's time for our tradition to drink some grog together as a crew. Everyone has to come out here and do it. And at first, my page isn't feeling well. They want to stay in the cabin. No, everyone has to drink it or else bad luck and krakens and storms and such. He needs to come out. He came with, that's not enough drinking. You have to take off your hat in respect. And of course, as soon as she takes off her hat, her hair goes from this long to this long. And suddenly, whoa, she's totally a woman. And they're like, what, you're trying to bring a woman on our ship? That's going to bring us bad luck and the Kraken and stuff. And they fight and they grab her and they grab him. And they were hoping that they would be out to sea for a few days before anyone found out. And then it'd be like, oh, this sucks. But do we want to turn around and sail back for a few days? no, let's just keep going. But they found out while they were still in the harbor. So they threw him in a boat and sent it back. And you know what happens? Well, of course, the king finds out. King finds out. He's like, this is horrible. He's treacherous, this Brandon guy. Treachery, treason, other T words. Terrific. No, it's not terrific. So he sentences him to prison in the Tower of London, to be held there till he gets his neck chopped. And of course, Mary's like, oh no, I love him. Please don't. Don't. I'll do anything you want, but don't. Don't kill him. So her good friend, the Duke, says, actually, no, wait. First, the king says, will you marry King Louis? If you marry him, I won't. If you marry the king in France, I won't kill Brandon. And she goes, very well, I'll do it. And then the Duke, her friend, comes up and says, you know what? The king of France is rather old. And it's not likely that he'll live very long. Maybe a year, maybe 2. Would you allow your sister to choose her next husband? If she does this for you, will you let her choose her next husband? Because I think the Duke is hoping that he'll be the one she chooses, because they're like best friends and stuff. And the king says, very well, I will allow this. If the king of France dies, you can choose your next husband. See, there's the Duke going, hey, why don't you try this new scheme? She can choose her next husband. So she gets married to the king of France. And he's old, like everyone knew. And she is a cold-hearted witch. Like, he seems to be kind of he's not a great guy, but he's not like a horrible guy either. He's just an old, doddering fool who's married a girl for political power, and she's like really young compared to him. And it's like probably not a great situation for anyone. But he's probably like, hey, I'm married to a hot lady. Can't wait for the wedding night. You know what I'm saying? So, sorry, I just heard like a ling, 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 ling. No idea where that's come from. So, she tries to kill him. Not like with a knife, like, no, she knows that he has health problems. So she makes him drink a lot. There's like I guess like a ceremony, or, you know, if she like takes a sip of a cup and gives it to the king, he like finishes it. So she just keeps taking cups of wine and like kissing it, not even drinking any of it, passing it to the king. So he's drinking wine. And it doesn't take very many, like 4 or 5 goblets, and he passes out on the floor. So the doctor takes him to his room and says, I have to stay with him tonight. So there will be no marital relations tonight. And she's like, darn. Oh, darn. See, there's the doctor saying, sir, please don't drink so much. And he's like, this is my wedding night, you fool. I've got to get all loosey-goosey, relaxed for the evening, you know what I'm saying. Meanwhile, back in London, there's Brandon in the Tower of London. Now, I believe that Mary wanted Duke to just let him know, I am coming back for you. Stay strong. I will dispatch of this king of France quickly with all my kind of mean-spirited stuff, and then I'll be back. The Duke was supposed to pass that message on, but he goes, she wants you to go to the New World. She felt that she stopped you from going the first time and is, you know, I want you to go. But I can't let you. But as the captain of the Tower of London, I can't release you. But perhaps an escape can be arranged. And you can already see the Machiavellian kind of stroking of his goatee. He knows he's like, okay, now he's lying. So if he's lying to Brandon, what else is he up to? Guess what he's up? Well, he arranges He arranges the escape, but he also arranges some guards to know about it. So there's like a boat that he hops into. He starts rowing away. These two men are hiding in the boat. Don't ask me how he did not see them before. One's like under a blanket, and it's not a big boat. It's like a rowboat, canoe. One of them's lying under a blanket. The other one's like in a little hut at the front. It's very suspicious. And they come up with their knives and they attack him. There's a fight. He keeps his shirt on. So there's that, I guess. And he gets stabbed and he ends up in the river. And they think he's dead. But he's not dead. He's just badly wounded. I'm not dead. I'm just very badly burned. What's that from? No, that's right. That's from Austin Powers. I'm not dead. I'm just very badly burned. So anyway, he's alive. But the Duke thinks he's dead. The King thinks he's dead. And now, well, Mary doesn't know he's dead yet. But then she and the King of France go for a lovely horseback riding. And of course, oh, King, you look so majestic when you're galloping on a horse. Of course, he's old and bad health, so he's not galloping. He's just kind of walking. But he's like, oh, I've got to impress this young wife of mine. So he starts galloping on the horse. And after a short distance, he's like, pretty much passed out. Like, help, help. And while they're talking, before he gallops, he's like, I really wish that we got been married, but I would really like to be alone with you. You know what he wants, right? She knows what he wants, but it hasn't happened yet. She keeps like ruining the moment. It's like, oh, but we are alone. Oh, but I mean like alone with no one watching. Not that I'm against that kind of thing. Anyway, he ends up having to be brought back to the palace. So she goes back to the palace as well. The king of France is not going to last very long, maybe a day or two. So she's like, I must be prepared to head back to England. Things are going to move very quickly when the king dies. She sends her maid to go back to London and prepare things and, tell Brandon, I'm coming for you, dear. They get back and he's like, Brandon is dead. The Duke. That's the Duke saying, Brandon's dead. There's no one to wait for you. You came for nothing. Sorry. But hey, because I love Mary so much, because we're besties, I will go back to France and I will bring her back to England when the king is dead. So that's what he does. However, when he gets there, guess who's king? This guy. I didn't show it. I should have taken a clip earlier. Basically, this guy keeps popping up. The King of France made him and his wife sort of why don't you show Mary the ropes of nobility here in France? And of course, this guy is creepy and is ignoring his wife. And hey, Mary, how about you and I? Anyway, so the king dies, and for some reason, this guy becomes the next king. I don't know how it works. Succession works in France. Didn't seem like this would be the case, but anyway, he's like, you can take Mary if you want, but I'm sending back the dowry of 400,000 francs or crowns or little cold gold coins back to the king. And when he sees that, he's going to send Mary back to me because but the Duke's like, no, I'm going to take her from you. It's up to her, not you. So she's like, oh, thank you, Duke, for taking me back home to England. I'm so happy. I can't wait to see Brandon. Have you heard any news of him? He's like, he's dead. I'm sorry, he's dead. And she's distraught and falls asleep, crying. And when she awakes, they're at like a chapel on their way to the coast before they catch a boat to England. And what can you say? Sorry, I'm just going back here. So it's like, hey, you've been sleeping for like 12 hours. Let's stop here at this church, and we'll rest. This priest is really hospitable and stuff. He has good food. They get food, and then he's like, "Hey, Brandon's dead, and your brother will probably send you back here when he gets that money. Let's get married right here. We could just go get the priest. He can marry us, and then your brother can't do anything. I'm so smart." She's like, "What? No, I refuse. I'm not going to get married to save my own butt. I'm doing it for love." And of course, the Duke, all of a sudden, all his kindness, and you think that he actually is a nice guy. Like, sure, he lies, but you're thinking he loves her. So he's he's doing it, but he does it because he wants to marry her. He loves her. He thinks he would make a great husband. But then he starts insulting her. And like, "You're stupid, you stupid wench. You'll do as you do." And it's like, whoa, that's pretty serious stuff. So they fight. Like, well, not really. I mean, he like grabs her arms, and then guess who shows up? Brendan, because he heard from another person that this was all happening. So he rounded up people and he sailed across the channel to France. And he found them in time, and he takes out his sword and, "Ha ha ha! I've got you, Duke. I'm here to save Mary." And they don't actually really fight. He just pushes him into like a closet and locks the door. Then they flee on horseback, followed quickly by the Duke and his men, because his men just came out and went back into the church and unlocked the closet. And I don't know why he didn't just kill him then, but whatever. I'm not the one in the revenge. They make it to the coast, the boat, they're about to cast off when they get caught up to, and there's a sword fight. Sword fighting in the water. Very dramatic, very cinematic. As cinematic as fight scenes can be back then, because all the shots are fairly wide open. They're not like close up with blades and movement. It's like stage fighting, so fake. And you can't see it here, but he stabs the Duke in the arm. He doesn't even like in the heart. It's in the arm. And so the Duke collapses. Long story short, they go back to that. I forgot to add some photos. Oh my goodness. I'm a fool. We'll talk about it in a second. Anyway, maybe I can add it quickly. We'll see. Anyway, so they get back to England, and they're the French ambassadors. They're like, "We brought you all this money, these chests of money. We would like you to send her back to France because the King of France would like to make her his wife." And she's like, "You can't do that because I'm already married." And of course the king is like, What? I was going to send you back. And say, "Hey, brother, you promised that I could marry whoever I wanted. So before I got back here, we got married." And she convinces her brother to make him a Duke of Suffolk, and give them some like property and a castle, and so they can do all sorts of noble things. And then he's like, "I take her far away from me. Ha 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 ha. I don't want to see her again because she's just, and Brandon, you better beat her thrice daily." Ha 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 ha. Because spousal abuse is hilarious. Seriously, that's what he's laughing about when he says, it's like, "Better beat her thrice daily." It was a different time, people. A different time. And he probably died of a whole bunch of diseases. So he got his comeuppance. And then, that was the end. They kiss. Of course, there's a final scene where they kiss. But because I got this video, I looked for it. I could buy it for like $6 on Amazon Prime, but then I wouldn't be able to get the images from it. So I may have watched it on YouTube. So that's why these pictures are not great quality. So I apologize. And that is that. Okay. Now, let me just see if I can quickly add some things here. Because that's boom. Well, let's talk about, now we already talked about Richard Todd last time. Because, let's see, well, I'll just say lady. Hopefully this will work. Please forgive me if I fail. Because, well, who am I kidding? It's going to work, but... what? I have one in there, but how come I don't have the other? Curious and curious. Well then, I guess cancel. Hold on. Yeah, I don't think I have it. That is very unfortunate. But I do have, I guess I can show you this. Richard Todd, we talked about him last week. That was, and he had like married a few times. He lost 2 of his kids to suicide. So tragic. He fought in a lot of like wars, and he was, sorry, just seeing, he was sending me bad messages. Yeah. So we know about him. He's done lots of stuff. In this movie, if you watch it, the voice of Mary, and the face too, is very familiar. It's kind of freakish to see, because, I mean, everyone knows her. But they don't know her as Mary, Queen of Scots? Mary of Suffolk? Long story short, she is this lady, Mrs. Banks. That is what I think the Disney film that everyone knows her from. Older, wiser, not the sex symbol that she used to be, because she's a bit older in this one. Still very attractive. Awesome, and she does a very good job. But her voice is very distinct, isn't it? Like, I think so. Like, there's no denying that when you hear her voice in this movie, you go to her. Like, you go, oh, that's Mrs. Banks. It's crazy. Apparently, she's in like a mermaid movie called Miranda. I can't call up those pictures, but let me just see. Glynis Johns is her name. I'm sorry. And you know what, guys? As of July 27th, 2021, she's still alive. She is 97 years old. She is just a hop, skip, and a jump from 100. Like, that's crazy. She played the title role in Miranda in 1948, a mermaid who causes havoc in a London household. Like, does that not sound weird? It's a comedy. She flirts and flatters every man she meets. What? I'm just reading what this is about. Like, a married man goes on a holiday to the coast without his wife because she doesn't like fishing. There, a mermaid catches him, drags him to her underwater cavern where she keeps him prisoner for a week and only lets him go after he agrees to show her London, where he lives. He takes her back to London with extra long dresses and pushes her around in a bath chair. His wife reluctantly agrees to the arrangement. A nurse is hired. The nurse is like, "Yay! I always believed mermaids existed." Miranda's seductive nature earns her the admiration of not only Paul, so this married man, but also his chauffeur Charles, as well as Nigel, the fiance of Claire's neighbor, and But when he and Charles discover that but when they discover that Miranda's been flirting with both of them, they both come to their senses. What? The final scene, Miranda is shown on a rock holding a mer baby on her lap. So she did more than just flirt with some of these men. Anyway, I'm like this is a movie that I'm going to have to watch myself. Anyway, so that's Glennis Johns. Now, I forgot to get pictures of the Duke of Buckingham. Let me just go back. So, because, where are you, Duke? Where are you, Duke? Not there, not there. Well, they're fighting, but not a good picture. Come on, where's your face, Duke? There. This is probably the best photo that we have of the Duke right now. That without me going back all the way through. He is Michael Gough. Michael Gough. He's a well-known British actor. Dracula, an old one. He appeared in a whole bunch of Tim Burton movies. Sleepy Hollow. Voicing Elder Gutknecht in Corpse Bride and the Dodo in Alice in Wonderland. And as everyone would... he was also in Doctor Who as the Celestial Toy Maker, which I haven't seen. He won a Tony Award. But what everyone probably knows him as is Alfred the Butler in Batman with Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, and George Clooney. Like the Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton oeuvre of Batman films. That is Alfred. Like, is that not mind-blowing? Like, it's weird to see a movie and he's like, kind of a villain. Well, he's villainous near the end, but like for the most part, but that's Alfred. That's crazy. And then, that's him. And then James Robertson Justice. That's just the guy who plays King Richard. Not a King Richard. What am I talking about? King Henry. And he's also in Rob Roy, the Highland Rogue, which we will see again next week. Like, that's crazy. So he's also was in a whole bunch of Disney movies in a row. He did some acting for sure. He worked in Canada. Like, he moved to Canada and taught and was a lumberjack and mined for gold. And then he's like, I'm homeless and penniless now because 99% of the people who mine for gold end up penniless. So he washed dishes on some like Dutch fishing ship that was going back across the ocean because he couldn't afford passage, so he had to work. And he did some acting, and yeah. Let me just go back to get a lovely picture of him. There he is laughing about spousal abuse. But this is James Robertson Justice. And yeah, an okay career, but he did die penniless. So I guess just bad decisions, bad with his money. In his defense, though, a couple years before this movie was shot, he lost his 4-year-old son to drowning. So I think that would break any person. That alone, like all the other stuff, those things are hard enough, but to lose a child to like an accident, drowning, like, oh man, I can't even imagine. So anyway, there we have it, people. This is the movie, The Sword and the Rose. Let me just see if I can get back to the lovely poster so you guys can take it in. There we go. Sword and the Rose, people. 1953. Next week we will be doing Rob Roy, the Highland Rogue, starring Richard Todd and Justice, though in a smaller role. I don't think Glynis Johns is in it. I don't think she pops up in another Disney movie until Mary Poppins, but we'll find out as I go through these live action movies. This is the point, so I can learn like a little bit of who did what. I'm not a film historian. I just want to learn a little bit more about the people involved in these Disney movies. And so hopefully you guys will come along for the journey. And if you know anything, please like put them in the comments. If like, hey, did you know that the second AD, went on to direct this Academy Award film? Or, hey, did you know that this woman in the background is actually the wife of this person in the background, and they met on this film? You can see them kind of flirting, giving googly eyes in this scene because they are just started dating. I don't know. Like, I'd love to hear trivia, stuff like that. But mostly, I just think that all these, like, there's so many Disney movies, myself included, that no one seems to know much about. Like, there's the big ones that we know about. Like, I think 20,000 Leagues coming up soon in the next few. Everyone knows about it. But actually, when you think about it, very few people have actually watched it. Like the younger people. They know all the new movies, the animated movies, the golden age of animation, like starting with The Little Mermaid, and Pixar comes into the fold, and Marvel. So there's like, Disney has this plethora of new movies that are awesome. I enjoy them. Everyone enjoys them. But no one seems to be watching these ones. Maybe there's a reason for that. This one didn't do well in the box office. I can kind of see why. But that doesn't mean we should forget about it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you will come back next week. I'll probably be posting something in a couple days. I haven't decided on the topic yet, so if you have any ideas, also leave them down below. And we'll see you in a few days. And if you're interested, track down Rob Roy, the Highland Rogue. Watch it before next week, and we can talk about it together. I would love it if people would chime in. Any trivia, any little tidbits, or if you want to say you're completely wrong, this is the greatest movie of all time, and Rob Roy beats out Mel Gibson's version, Braveheart, then I might say you're on something. But it'd be nice to have that discussion. I will see you guys next week. Thank you for stopping by. I love you all. And keep that flame of Disney love alive. Ciao.